Alright, it says I'm live, so if I'm live, please let me know in the comments, and then we can start this. Let me pop out the chat. Pull up Google. Okay. Still loading. Okay. Just let me know if you guys can hear me, and then alright, you can hear me too. Alright. What's up, Conscious? What's up, Mike? What's up, Marvin? What's up, Dennis? What's up, Dustin? What's up, Mike? Alright, welcome in, guys. Hopefully the rain stays away today. I think the forecasts look better. I think it's supposed to just rain early on in the day and then get better a little bit. What's up, Robbie? What's up, Michael? What's up, Sincere? Let's let people roll in. What's up, TJ? What's up, John? Thank you, John. Appreciate that. What's up, Pat? I know, right? Rain every single week for NASCAR, it seems like. Every single week. What's up, Casey? So before we do questions, I was going to talk about who I think is going to be high owned on the slate, then maybe some tournament pivots off of them, but also let some people roll in. What's up, Chris? Nice to see you in here. Dustin says, don't see a truck race happening. Yeah, could definitely be iffy on that. You know, Cup's going to be priority, so they're not going to risk not getting the Cup in for trucks. What's up, Andrew? What's up, Joe? Nice to see people rolling in. Saturday morning, first Saturday morning stream. Then we can do this all again tomorrow. Mike says, our stack the bet kind of killed us last week with no credit. Yeah, a couple of those guys did not work out as well as you would hope so, but at least a lot of the other guys did well. Stenhouse, Amarola, Dylan, Gone, they all still did their job at least. The Christopher Bell penalty absolutely sucked, though, because that guy was running top 5. Chris says, hit the like. Appreciate that, Chris. Leaving likes does help me out. Really do appreciate that. Stanley's in the house. Nice to see Stanley in the house. What's up, Brian? What's up, Rob? All right. So, I'm going to get started here, just so I'm not saying hi the whole entire video. Alright, so guys I think are going to be chalky on this slate. So, like the Dominators, I know Dominators aren't as important at Pocono, considering we only have 97 Dominator points available. But the thing is, Draftkings made all these guys lower than they should be, so it's really easy to stack the front. And looking at previous optimal lineups, you can... Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. Yeah, it wouldn't be a NASCAR race without rain. Yeah, of course. Every single time. What's up, guys? Sorry, just seeing more people come in. But anyway, guys, I think are going to be high owned up top. I think Kevin Harvick's going to be very high owned. I think Kyle Busch is going to be the highest owned of that group, and I don't think it's going to be that close. I think everyone's going to be playing Kyle Busch. He comes in at 9,300. I got X'd out the chat. I'm going to keep glancing at it. There's a cam focus issue. Let me just unplug that really quick and plug it in. All right, it should be good. Let me check. Yeah, we should be good. Okay. So anyway, guys, I think are going to be really high owned up top. I think Kyle Busch is going to be first in ownership. He is just absolutely dominant at Pocono. I'm not going to read you guys all these statistics because I did that in my preview video. So if you haven't watched it already, just check it out. But Kyle Busch, he's 9,300. He is the class of the field here. He literally checks every single box. The only concern I have with Kyle Busch is that he has not been dominant this season. He was really good at Bristol, which is another unique track like Pocono. He crushed it there. But outside of that, he has not been dominant, but he is picking up good finishes this season. I believe he's got 5 or 6 top 5s. He's got multiple second place finishes. The thing is, he's just not dominating. But at 9,300, we get a little bit more leeway with Kyle Busch this week. So I think he's going to be very popular, and I think it's for a good reason. I think there's a good chance he can get up front. It's just the only thing is the Toyotas have not been as strong as the Fords this season or the Chevys. But I think Kyle Busch can pay off his price tag, especially if he gets up front, which would not surprise me. The next guy I think is going to be pretty high owned as for Dominators is Denny Hamlin. He comes in at 8,800. He is starting third. Now, we have no PD upside with Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch, but they're just way too cheap. And Denny Hamlin is pretty good at Pocono. He's a recent winner here. He won last race at Pocono. He's got 2 top 5s. In JGR, they have 4 of their cars in the top 5 of average running position. They just ran so well at Pocono, and there is no reason for Denny Hamlin to be this cheap. I mean, he's below 9K. It makes absolutely no sense. He should not be lower than Clint Bowyer. Should probably be higher than Brad Keselowski, even though Keselowski's been really strong this season. But Denny Hamlin at 8,800 is an absolute joke, so I think a lot of people are going to take advantage of that price tag. And I think a lot of people are going to be stacking JGR today. I mean, you can easily fit in Hamlin, Kyle Busch, even Truex in the same lineup and put in Eric Jones, and you have plenty of salary left over. You can easily fit in another guy like William Byron, and then you still have, I think, close to 7K left in your lineup, which is absolutely insane, I think. But yeah, it's very easy to stack JGR today. I also think Truex is going to be very high owned as part of that JGR stack. He is starting 11th. He is below 10K. He is also very good at Pocono. Does have a win here, 3 top 5s. His numbers have been strong. And so far this season, he's arguably been the top JGR car. Him and Denny Hamlin, they've both been pretty strong this season. Both have won races. And then Kevin Harvick, he's arguably had the best car all season long. He is 10,100. He is starting 9th. He offers you a little bit of PD upside. And more than likely, he's going to finish in the top 5. He's got 4 top 5s for the past 6 races. I mean, all his numbers are really good. They're second best only to Kyle Busch. And Kevin Harvick has had a very strong car this season. He's led the most laps. He's gotten the most fast laps. And he's top 5 in average green flag speed. I think he's second only behind Chase Elliott so far this season. So, yeah, I think your chalk dominators are going to be Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex. And if you're looking for pivots in that category, you're looking at probably like Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski. Ryan Blaney, I think he could be pretty chalky. I'm not sure exactly what people are going to do with his ownership just because he's starting so high. And you got cars like Denny Hamlin right behind him, and Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, all those good cars right behind him. We also have a competition caution on lap 12, so even if he does pass Eric Almirola early, I mean, there's a decent chance he could get shuffled out of first on pit road. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I don't know. I think Ryan Blaney's just a little risky. I still have plenty of ownership on him today. I think he is a good play. I think he probably will get around Eric Almirola early on. He's 3rd in average green flag speed so far this season. He is on fire right now. He's been great the past 3 races, Martinsville, Homestead, and 1 at Talladega. So he's definitely on a hot streak right now, and Fords have been so fast. You need high horsepower at Pocono, and Ryan Blaney definitely has that. So it would not surprise me if he gets up front and leads a good chunk of this race, but I do think Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and all those guys will be a factor at some point. And if Ryan Blaney does finish out of the top 5, top 8 by some chance, I think he probably finishes inside the top 8. But if by chance he loses negative PD and he doesn't dominate all that much because there's not that many dominator points available, I don't think he'd make the optimal. But he is still a solid play, but I think he's better in tournaments than cash games just because we can get a little bit more PD upside with guys further back that have better track records at Pocono. And I think that pretty much covers the dominators. Let me just check the chat really quick and see what you guys are talking about. Someone said the race got moved to 350. Okay, well, thanks for letting me know. I did not see that. Okay, let's see. All right, let me just keep talking. So, for some PD plays in the mid-range, I mean, obviously the chalk this week is Eric Jones. I would not be surprised if he's the highest owned driver. It just makes too much sense this week. He's just way too cheap. He's 7,100. He's less than Ty Dillon. He's less than Eric Almirola. He's less than rookie Tyler Reddick. He's less than MDB. Just doesn't make too much sense because Pocono is one of his best tracks. He's averaging 43 DraftKings points per race here. Has one of the best average finishes of 8.3. He's got 4 top 5s the past 6 races. 5 top 10s. There is nothing not to like about Eric Jones. He's legit top 5 candidate in this race, and he's starting 19th at 7,100. Now, the only problem with Eric Jones is he tends to get a tire issue at some point in the race, and it's usually near the end when he's running really well. So it would not surprise me if he's running top 10 in this race, and then at the very end, he gets a tire issue, he's got a pit, and he screws our day. But if that does not happen, I have a hard time seeing Eric Jones not make the optimal lineup at 7,100 because look, his numbers are too good here, and JGR has ran really well, and the price just does not make sense. Eric Jones, expect him to be pretty popular. I also think Matthew DiBenedetto should be popular, and William Byron. William Byron has crushed Pocono. He only has 4 races here in the Cup Series, but he's averaging 50 DraftKings points per race here. Is one of the best average finishes, 3 top 10s and 4 chances, 4 top 20s, averaging 12.3 place differential spots per race. Did start 38th one race, so it's going to skew that just a little bit, but it's still been a very good track for him. I believe he's made the past 3 optimal lineups at Pocono, so I think he's another guy that's going to be pretty popular. He's pretty easy to fit in your lineups. Now, the case with MDB, I know his numbers here look pretty awful, but don't forget he's in new equipment now. He's in the best equipment he has ever had, and so far this season, he's been running really well, consistently in the top 15. If you're just looking at this season's numbers, he's got an average running position of 14.6 with 2 top 10s, 6 top 15s, and 8 top 20s. Now I'm looking at a 10-race sample size, so MDB has been very solid all season, and I think we see more of what he's ran so far this season than we do recent history at Pocono just because of the equipment. I mean, the 21 car is obviously much better than what he has been in, so I think MDB should be decently popular. But if you're looking for pivots in this range, I do think Tyler Reddick is interesting. Now, obviously, we have no Cup Series statistics at Pocono, but he was solid in the Xfinity Series And Daniel Hemrick last year in this A car ran pretty well at Pocono. He actually made one of the optimal lineups. And Tyler Reddick is better than Daniel Hemrick. We are seeing that this year. Tyler Reddick has just been an absolute baller. He is driving that number 8 car very, very well. So if you want to make a pivot off of a guy like Eric Jones or MDB, I think Tyler Reddick is pretty solid in that 7,400 slot starting 15 because he's got a legit top 10. He's got legit top 10 potential with the way he's driving. So would not mind Tyler Reddick. He does have 3 top 10s this year, 6 top 15s, 8 top 20s. So I think he could be a contender for a pretty high finish in this race. And then going down to the 6K tier, you got guys like Austin Dillon, Cole Custer, Chris Buescher that are pretty interesting. I think people are going to flock to Chris Buescher just because he has been pretty solid here, and he's starting 24, so he does offer you some PD upside. He does have 4 top 20s here the past 6 races and 1 top 15. It's not an exciting play, but I think he's just solid, so I think he's going to be decently popular, probably going to be over 20%, or not a little bit closer to that. And Cole Custer, he's starting 25th. He was pretty good here in the Xfinity Series. Actually did win a race at Pocono recently in the Xfinity Series and did dominate that race. So far this season, he's been around 20th place car. He's got an average finish of 21.6, average running position of 22.2. He is in pretty good equipment, though. That's Stuart Haas equipment. We did see Daniel Suarez run pretty well here in that car. So I think Cole Custer is pretty interesting. It's a fair price. He's starting 25th. I think he should be able to crack the top 20 if all goes well for him. But the tournament pivot in this range is Austin Dillon. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. He's 6,200. He's starting 17th, so there's not a lot of PD upside. But Pocono has been a decently solid track for him. He does have 3 top 15s here the past 6 races and 4 top 20s, which is actually pretty solid. And so far this season, he's got an average running position of 18.1 with an average finish of 17.5, 3 top 10s, 5 top 15s. I think Austin, especially since the NASCAR restart, Austin Dillon has been running pretty well despite having issues in a couple of races. But I think Austin Dillon is a solid tournament option that could crack the top 15 at only 6,200. And the obvious chalk in the 5K tier is going to be Ryan Preece and Michael McDowell. They're just a little bit too cheap here. Preece is starting 30th. If you're looking at his numbers at Pocono, he has 2 races here. Wrecked out of 1 race, so he finished 37th, I believe, so that's going to skew his numbers a little bit. But the race that he didn't wreck in, he started 29th and finished 23rd, which I think we're probably going to get something similar. I think he's going to be a top 25 car here. And at 5,800 starting 30th, that's just about enough to get the job done. Now, Michael McDowell, he has been actually pretty excellent for his price tag recently. He's just been in this low 5K range, and he's 17th in Draftkings points scored per race so far this season, and he's priced like an absolute scrub. He should not be below Corey LaJoie. I don't know if he should be more than Ryan Preece, but they should be around 6K. So Michael McDowell for 5,500, I like that a lot. And Pocono has actually been a decent track for him. He's got an average finish of 20.7. And if you're looking at his numbers so far this season, his numbers are pretty darn good. He's averaging 30 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 18.9, 6 top 20s. So Michael McDowell is going to definitely be popular in that 5K range. And it's really only between him or Ryan Preece down there. I wouldn't really touch anyone else. But that's pretty much it for just a brief, quick slate overview. I might have missed someone I talked about, but I do want to answer some questions for you guys because I'm sure you guys all have some questions. So, second. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to try to scroll up a little bit. And let me just see how many people are in here. It's a Saturday morning, so I don't really expect too many people to be in here. I know people are busy. All right. Good morning, Tony. What's up, Jason? All right, let's see. Timothy says, what? No Team Penske this week? I do like Team Penske most weeks. I do like Blaney. I do like Keselowski. Not a fan of Joey Logano. I'm not that high on Team Penske, but Blaney and Keselowski are on my radar this weekend. So I wouldn't say no Team Penske this week. I'd say most of Team Penske, just not all of them. Mike says, my optimizer gave me 100% Jones. How low should I move him? That is a lot. I would never recommend going 100% on somebody, but I think anywhere from 50 to 70% Jones is fine this week. That might be a little bit bold considering he tends to get a tire issue at some point. But if all goes well, which I cannot predict a tire issue, I think there's a really good chance of making the optimal lineup today. Max says, should I be scared to not have Harvick in cash? That's a question I'm asking myself this week. I think it's honestly for me between Truex and Harvick for the last spot in my cash lineup. I pretty much have everyone else I want in there, but it's kind of like a debate. Internal debate on do I want to go Harvick or do I want to go Truex. Truex offers you a little bit more PD upside, but Kevin Harvick has just overall had a dominant car this season. And he's been better at Pocono overall, so Harvick might be the way to go in cash, but I like the little bit more PD upside we have with Truex. Jake says, favorite scrub car. You said chat, but I think you meant car. Favorite scrub car is going to be Michael McDowell because he's the lowest, but him and Ryan Preece are the top 2 options down there. But I'm not playing anyone below Michael McDowell. Let's see. Marcus says, looks like a 350 start. Yep, I think I actually saw the email when I was talking earlier. What's up, Chris? Nice to see you in here. Mike says, MDB is my favorite. Yeah, MDB is a pretty solid option. I'm hoping that his recent track history here does keep people off of him because the ownership bumps tend to be track history, and MDB does not have good track history here, but just overall, he's had a really good season so far, and in a much better car. Let's see. Chris says, screen is blurry. Well, hopefully I fixed that when I unplugged the mic a long time ago. Let me just check the other chats to make sure it's not blurry. I think we're good, though. All right, Tony says, after choosing the 3 or 4 core drivers, who do you have in your driver pool to fill out the last 2 or 3 spots? Custer, McDowell, Ty Dillon, or A. Dillon? I think the safest options there are Custer and McDowell because Ty Dillon's just a little bit too expensive for me. I do not want to pay $7,200 for a guy I probably think finishes around 25th. I mean, it's not terrible, but I'd much rather play Eric Jones, and I think Tyler Reddick's a better tournament option as well. So I'd say it's either McDowell or Custer, but if you want the GPP pivot, you could go Austin Dillon for the top 15 potential, which I don't think Custer or McDowell will crack the top 15. Benjamin says, thinking about stacking guys closer to the front for this race, think the field is going to be conservative on passes because of having to use the cars twice. Plus, it's hard to pass there anyway. Yeah, I totally agree. And I actually like stacking the front. Like, you can easily fit in a Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, I don't know, even a Blaney, and you can just really stack up the front. And I think more than likely they will stay there. It is a hard track to pass on, and they got to save their cars for tomorrow. So I could definitely see that happening. That is a pretty good point. Let's see. Rob says Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon or Truex and Preece and Cash. Well, I think you got to play Kyle Busch and Cash, so I'm going to lean that way, but I do think Preece is the better option in the second. So maybe if you went Kyle Busch and Preece, and then you can mix that around a little bit because I think you'd have a little bit more salary. But I do want to play Kyle Busch and Cash today, so I would go with Kyle Busch. King says, if Bell was in the 8 to 7K range, would you consider him a must-play due to the PD upside? Yeah, if he was like 8K, yeah, for sure. He's like a lock button because he's starting 36. He's got a top 15 potential. But at 11,100, he's got to get a top 5 really to hit 6x. So if he was 8 to 7K, yeah, Christopher Bell's a lock, but that's unfortunately not the case. Benjamin says Busch and Dillon. Yeah. Michael says, any interest in Austin Dillon? Yeah, I actually think you probably asked that before I talked about him, but I think he's one of the better tournament options in that low 6K range. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. Everyone's going to play Ryan Preece. Everyone's going to play Michael McDowell. I think a lot of people are going to play Busher and Custer. So Austin Dillon should go overlooked, but he's got legit top 15 potential. He's done it here recently, and he's been running pretty well since May 17th. Benjamin says, I've got a pretty good lineup set with a stacked group of 5 guys, plus Davison is a Hail Mary punt play given his racing history. Think he could be suited for Pocono. Yeah, I personally am just Xing out everyone below Michael McDowell, but I could see it working out. It's just, I don't like trusting those guys, especially at a track like Pocono where we need high horsepower, but I get the Hail Mary there. Jack says, is Recchi Spinhouse going to win me another single entry GPP? Well, he crushed for us at Talladega. I mean, he finished second. He absolutely crushed. But at Pocono, I don't think it's going to happen. He is 7,900. He's starting 14th. It looked like he got a little bit of a price bump from how he performed at Talladega. At 8K, starting 14th, I think he's going to lose spots here, so I'm not that interested in Ricky Stenhouse. I think there's better options that are a bit cheaper. Alan says, what do you think of a pivot off of Eric Jones to Chris Buescher? Eric Jones to Chris Buescher. I think that's fine. I really wasn't considering him a pivot off of Jones. I'm kind of thinking pivots off of Jones from like a Reddick or MDB, but I guess if you want to save some salary, you could go with Chris Buescher. I don't hate that. I think Eric Jones is a much better play because he's got legit top 5 potential. Chris Buescher doesn't really have that. He could crack the top 15, but I don't think he's going to get anywhere close to the top 10 like Eric Jones can. But Buescher is a fine pivot. I do have a lot of interest in Buescher today, like a decent amount. So I do like him in general. I'm just not sure if I like him as a pivot off of Jones too much. I think you could play them together though for sure. But appreciate that, Alan. Bonnie says Austin Dillon or Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell's safer, but Austin Dillon, I think he's got a better chance of scoring more points than Michael McDowell today. I think if Dillon can hang in the top 15, I mean, I actually think he can, which at 6,200, that's going to pay off your salary pretty well, and I don't think Michael McDowell's got that top 15 potential. So in tournaments, I would go with Austin Dillon. Michael McDowell is probably the better cash option just because he's got a little bit of PD upside there. Max says 2v2 cash, McDowell and Boyer, or Byron and Busher. I'm going to go with Byron and Busher just because they have the higher finishing potential than McDowell. Boyer, I like Boyer, but he's a little bit expensive today. I did forget to talk about him, but I do think he's pretty interesting. I think he's a safe play. He should be able to crack the top 10 or at least come close to it. But I really like Byron today, so I'm going to go with the Byron and Busher combo there. Tony says, when comparing drivers, is the PD upside the most important, or is it how good the cars are? If it is the car, how do we know which cars are the best? Well, at Pocono, we kind of just want guys that finish really high. So each track's a little bit different. PD upside at Talladega, it's the most important. Like last week, we didn't really care about what the car was. We just cared about where the guys were starting. Like, I don't know, Ty Dillon was starting 33rd, I believe. Like he was one of the best plays on the slate just because of Talladega. You need the PD upside. At a track like this, the best cars are going to rise to the top more than likely. I mean, you have to have high horsepower at this track. So, and if you're asking, how do we know which cars are the best? You got to look at recent track history. You got to look at statistics so far this season. I mean, the best cars have been Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski. I mean, most of the Fords and few of the Chevys have been the best cars so far this season. Denny Hamlin's also been really strong. Kyle Busch has not been as strong as he usually has, but Truex, I mean, the top dogs are going to be the best cars. Timothy says, I'm guessing Austin Dillon's wife finally had the baby. Yeah, I think she had that a couple weeks ago. I think it was after the Martinsville race, right before Homestead, if I remember. But yes. Benjamin says Byron and Busher is safer. Totally agree. OS says thoughts on Truex starting 11th. I think Truex is a very strong play today. One of my favorite top dogs on the slate. He's starting 11th, so he offers you a little bit of PD upside, but I would be surprised if he's not in the top 5 at some point in this race, and he should probably stay there. So, yeah, I think Truex is a very excellent play. Pecan Pie says, hey, Chris, hope you had a good week, man. Appreciate that, Pecan Pie. Hope you did as well. Jason says, what's up? McLeod ownership? McLeod? I don't even remember. Where's he starting? He's starting 39th. I mean, he might be able to move out a couple spots, but I think McLeod will be lower than 5%, and I have no interest on PJ McLeod. William says Hamlin or Boyer cash. I will go with Hamlin just because he is way too cheap. Sorry, my chat went all the way down, so I lost where I was. All right, Hamlin or Boyer cash. I'll go with Hamlin. I think he's going to be much higher owned. And Hamlin's got a legit shot to win this race. It would not surprise me if he gets up front early. He could pass Blaney. He could pass Almirola early. So, yeah, I think Denny Hamlin's the way to go for cash games. I know Boyer has the PD upside, but, I mean, Hamlin's at 8,800. I think we got to take advantage of that price tag, even though he is starting third, which leaves us barely any PD upside. Matt says Byron Bell or Truex Harvick in cash. Well, give me the Truex Harvick there, but oh yeah, I keep forgetting Bell's 11,100. I was like, how is that an even split? But yeah, that does make sense. But yeah, I'll go Truex Harvick there. R. Stanley says, why no BJ McLeod? I just don't want to play any of those guys back there. I mean, there's just very limited upside with them. Josh says, might have been said already, Ty Dillon worth the pay up. I don't really think he is. He could move up about 10 spots, but at 7,200, just give me Eric Jones. I'd rather play Tyler Reddick and MDB, which are in the similar price range. I'd rather play Busher and Custer and Dillon. So Ty Dillon does not rank out as a very good value for me on this slate. Kay says, do you also play trucks and Xfinity? I do not, just not that interested in it, so I don't want to make videos for it. So, you know, it's just something I pass on. I just stick to the Cup Series. I do apologize, though, because I know people have asked me to do it, but it's just not something I'm really interested in. Wyatt says, hey, Chris, you're the GoPro. Appreciate that. Are you playing Bell at all or full fade? I am not playing Bell today. If he gets a top 5, I will eat the L, but do we really think Christopher Bell's going to get top 5 today? I don't think so. But if he does, you can make fun of me on Twitter or something. Purist says, how much of your bankroll do you put to cash versus turn? I pretty much strictly play tournaments for NASCAR just because it's such a variant sport. But I actually am playing some cash today. I kind of like the way the slate's set up, so I am playing some cash today, but I'm much more heavier on tournaments just because of the way NASCAR goes. But in other sports, I mainly play cash with some tournaments. All right, let's see. Kobe says, do you recommend Bell on FanDuel with him being reasonably priced? I think Bell, someone told me Bell is like 8,000 on FanDuel, which, yeah, it's pretty much a lock play. I don't play FanDuel at all, so I don't really know exactly what the pricing is. But Christopher Bell, if he's 8K, which I think the most expensive drivers get at least 5 figures. So, yeah, Christopher Bell would be a lock for me on FanDuel if that's how cheap he is. Compie says full JGR or KB, Hamlin, Harvick, and single to GPP. So that's the debate I'm having. I feel like we might be making the same lineup because I got Kyle Busch, Hamlin, and Eric Jones in there. But then it's like, do I want to play Truex or do I want to play Harvick? And that's an internal struggle I'm having right now. I think I'm leaning Harvick just because he's been so dominant this season. So I feel like I can trust Kevin Harvick more. Plus, if JGR comes out and just misses their setup early on, I think it might be a nice little hedge to have a Ford in there with Kevin Harvick. So I think I'm leaning Harvick right now. But you really can't go wrong with Truex or Harvick, in my opinion. Josh says, is it fine to stack Kyle Busch and Hamlin in lineups? Yes, I think most people are actually going to do that today, even though they're starting up front, but they can probably stay in the top 5 all day. Wouldn't surprise me if one of them dominates, and they're too cheap. John says, who is your top 3 raw points play regardless salary? So, I don't know, I forget exactly what my projections are, but I mean, I think most likely it's going to be like a Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and then I think maybe a Truex or Denny Hamlin's probably going to be in the top 3. Wyatt says, hey Chris, how much Boyer are you going to have today? I think being anywhere from 15 to like 25% Clint Boyer is actually the sweet spot today. 30% might be too much because of his price tag, and I do prefer, sorry, I might have yelled there. I do prefer Martin Truex and Kyle Busch right around him, but I think Boyer does give you a nice little bit of PD upside, could crack the top 10, starting 18th. So Boyer, sweet spot's probably going to be anywhere from 15 to 25%. Could stretch that to 30 if you really like him today. Mike says, what's the difference in today's race and tomorrow's race? Because prices are so different tomorrow. So the pricing for the Sunday slate is what probably should be for this slate, because the Sunday slate is priced normally. Like you got Kyle Busch at 11,000. I think Kevin Harvick's like mid 10K. That's how it should be. Kyle Busch should never be 9,300. I don't care what he's looked like this season. He's not a 9,300 car. But I think plus the cars that are going to finish like up top, it's going to get inverted. So, I mean, there's a good chance Kyle Busch could start 15th or 20th. So I think they kind of did it like that as well. But we'll see. I don't know why they did it so different from Saturday to Sunday. Jason says, are you drinking water? Yes, I just took a drink. I'm sure you saw it. King says, would you bet on the talent or the car in this tricky triangle? Well, I guess the car, because it's hard to pass here, but the best cars are up front. So I'm going to go with the cars, but usually the most talented drivers are in the best cars for the most part. I mean, Tyler Reddick's obviously really talented. I'd like to see him in like a top end car. That'd be really exciting. But I mean, you're pretty much just betting on the top guys today. TJ says Byron or Bowman. I will go Byron. He has just been very, very good here, and he's a little bit safer, starting 16th. Nothing to it but true it, like the name. He says Harvick McDowell or Byron Eric Jones. Well, if you're playing Byron Eric Jones, I assume you're going to be using other high-end cars, so I'm going to go Byron Eric Jones there, and I'm going to assume you have some other top dogs, I'm sure. Wyatt says, so are you going to use today as a test or practice and put more money into tomorrow's? I'm just playing normal. So, I mean, maybe if I win a bunch today, I'll play a little bit more, but I'm just playing normal today. But it is a good test today. If you guys do want to play lower today and just get a feel of it, I don't blame you, because I don't think they're going to go, I mean, they're going to try their hardest today, but they might just save just a little bit, especially if they don't think they have a race-winning car. They might fade a little bit to that 20th spot to get a higher starting spot on Sunday. Justin says 12 as the first pit stall. Yes, correct. He won the Talladega race. Joe says Buescher or Custer, starting side by side, and both teams produce horsepower. I'm going to go with Buescher just because he's got the experience here. It's tougher to trust rookies. I know Custer's got good equipment. That's Stewart Haas equipment, but I'll side with Buescher there just because he's got experience at this track. John says, Chris, thanks for all your help on Patreon. Appreciate that. Thanks for being on Patreon. We're like at 300 people on there. That's awesome. I do appreciate everyone on Patreon. Are you afraid all the Toyota cars in GPP's high ownership? I am not. I mean, they're high owned for a reason. I do like hedging with some of these Fords, though. I mean, I don't think Harvick's going to be low owned. I do have a lot of Harvick, but Brad Keselowski is a decent pivot off of those guys. Clint Boyer, he offers you some PD upside. He's a Ford. Ryan Blaney is a decent option. I don't know how high owned Ryan Blaney is going to be. I already talked about that earlier. But Chase Elliott, I mean, he's a really nice pivot up top. He's 10,700. I do not think a lot of people are spending all the way up for Chase Elliott today. Starting 5th, his track history isn't as good as some of the other guys, and people love using track history for ownership. Or that's the new ownership bumps. I don't think Chase Elliott's going to be that high owned. So if you want to play the fastest card this season at decently low ownership, Chase Elliott's your guy, and there's plenty of cheap guys to be able to fit in Chase Elliott today. So, but no, I'm really not afraid of all that high ownership because they're just in really good spots and they're too cheap. Let's see. I feel like track history is minimized this season because it's so different than high practice. Yeah, for sure. And it's a big bump in ownership, like I've been saying. So there is an edge just to kind of fade some of that ownership. But, I mean, I really like the Toyotas today. So, but yeah, track history, I mean, with not having any practice, that's directly hurt Kyle Busch all season. He's a guy that really excels with having practice. And without having that, we've seen it kind of kill him so far this season with no wins. See. Do you think that Kyle Busch and his team treats this race as a practice and goes for the win tomorrow? It's certainly possible. I wish I could get in their heads and actually know. But Kyle Busch is so competitive. I think he wants to win every single race he can, but we'll see. I mean, I wish I knew. Let's see. Where are we at? Sorry, the chat went down, so if I missed your question, I apologize, but I had to scroll all the way down. Okay, Greg says Harvick and Blaney or Elliott and Hamlin, 15 max DPP. I'm not in love with Elliott today, so I'm going to go Harvick and Blaney just because, you know, Fords have been so fast this season and Ryan Blaney's got a pretty easy path to dominating early on. So I'm going to go with Harvick and Blaney there. Tony says, sorry, the top dog cars are easy, but when you're looking at lower price drivers, which cars have the most horsepower? I mean, if you're looking at decently lowest price, you got Eric Jones at 7,100, if that makes any sense. You could also look at Chris Buescher, Cole Custer's and Stuart Haas equipment. He's only 6,400. Austin Dillon's 6,200. He's in a decent car. He's not in a high-end car, but, I mean, he's in a top 15 potential car for sure. But outside of that, I mean, none of these guys are, like, way overpowered. I feel like I'm talking really low. Timothy says, missed the baby announcement. Maybe have some Austin Dillon baby narrative. Well, you're a little late in the baby narrative. He had that early on, but I think Austin Dillon is a solid play overall. Kyle says, you're my hero. Well, you're my hero, Kyle. Thanks for stopping in the live stream. Stanley says, I have 60% of Kyle, Jones, Hamlin, Priest. Is this too much? I mean, it's bold, but if you're not bold, there's a good chance you're just going to break even every week. You got to go bold on some plays because if you're just trying to match the field in every single play, you're really not going to have a good chance of just crushing a slate. So if you want to play your favorite plays and go overweight on them, yeah, feel free to do that. I have no problem with that. Michael says, any interest in Keselowski? Do you think he'll be low? And yeah, I like Keselowski. He's had a strong car all season long. He's top 5 in average green flag speed. He's tied for the most top 5s here the past 6 races with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Doesn't have the wins and hasn't really dominated too much, but starting 8th at 9,900, I do think he's going to be low owned. I mean, people are going to play Truex more. I think people play Clint Boyer more. Everyone's playing Kyle Busch. Everyone's playing Kevin Harvick. So Brett Keselowski should be pretty low owned today, and he could make some noise. So I do like him in tournaments. Timothy says, smash that thumbs up button. I agree. The thumbs up button does help me out quite a bit. All right. Tim says, are you running a Pocono? Yeah, it's supposed to rain like all day until like 2, if that's what they said. But it looked pretty decent after that. Tony says, I'm just glad no one's asking about FanDuel today. Yeah, everyone's like, I know you don't play FanDuel, but then ask me a FanDuel question. Not saying that annoys me, but I just really don't know what to tell you. Landon says, good morning. Let's hope we can race today. Good morning, Landon. Nice to see you in here. I know you're a big Chase Elliott fan. He could get the win today. But yeah, hopefully we can get the race in. Josh says, Kurt Busch or DiBenedetto? I would take DiBenedetto. He's much safer in my opinion. Michael says, so feeding Harvick and Kyle Busch in cash is a terrible idea? I wouldn't say it's terrible because there's other good cars, but I do think they're going to be pretty high owned, and I personally would play them in cash games more than likely. Tony says, which drivers will have the best pit stop position? Well, number 1 is Ryan Blaney, which, look, I think he's going to grab the lead early. Now, the question is he going to keep it until lap 12 for the competition caution? If he does, I think there's a good chance he can get out there first. And then after the stage, it's lap 25. But anything gets shuffled. But I think Ryan Blaney's got a decent chance to lead the first 25 laps. Decent chance. Edward says, Blaney coasted 200 laps, lead to a win. Well, there's not 200 laps, so it might be a little difficult. I only have 130, but hey, I love Blaney, just in general. My favorite driver, so if he wants to dominate today and win, I got no problem with that. Anthony says, Kyle Busch or Truex? I will go Kyle Busch just because a little bit of savings there, but Truex does have more PD upside, but just in general, I'll take Kyle Busch. Diego says, what's a good driver below the 5,800 mark? That would be Michael McDowell. He has 5,500. I expect him to be decently popular today. Cody says D Benedetto or Reddick. And I'll take MDB in a safer sense. If you want tournament upside, Tyler Reddick's in 15th. He could get to the top 10, but just overall, I will take MDB there. What's up, Born? Nice to see you in here. Matthew says, thoughts on Kurt Busch? So I don't think he's going to lead any laps today. He could contend for a top 5, but I think he's going to finish right around where he starts. At Pocono, he's got an average finish of 13.8. But this season, he's been very solid. He's actually been one of the most consistent cars all season long. But starting 7th, I think there's a good chance he could lose some PD spots. But I like his price tag, but I just don't see him cracking the top 5. What's up, Terry? Nice to see you in here. Max says, thanks for all your help, Chris. Appreciate that, Max. Thanks for stopping by. Mike says, will rain kind of just end today's race and do tomorrow's, maybe even a double distance race tomorrow? I have no idea. Actually, I asked my friend last night. So what happens if today's race gets rained out? Then you already have tomorrow's slate locked, but we don't even know the starting spots. So that could be a complete mess, and I just hope that doesn't happen because it sounds awful from a content point of view. Let's see. Diego says, Bubba Wallace or MDB? I would take MDB. He's in the better car. He's in the better equipment, and he's ran much better so far this season. Josh says, thoughts on Blaney for cash games? I feel like I like Blaney just more in tournaments just because I don't know, I just worry about him in that second spot. Plus, at Pocono, he's got an average finish of 11.8. There's been better cars at Pocono. He does have a win here. Got maybe just a tad bit lucky. One top 5. But I do think he gets to lead early. If he can lead 25 laps and pick up some fast laps, he should be okay if he stays inside the top 7 or top 8. But I do have concerns with Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch right behind him. I'd rather play them in cash games than Blaney. But I do have a good amount of Blaney in tournaments. But cash games, I'm hesitant there. Williams says, Vegas is showing Buescher some love, are they? I don't really look too much at Vegas odds for NASCAR, but I like Buescher today too, so I'm glad they're agreeing a little bit. Sarah says, good morning. Hope I'm not too late. Not too late. We're 36 minutes in. We usually go about an hour. Not sure how many people are in here, so it might be a little bit shorter today, but I don't think you're too late. You can always watch the rest on replay. Diego says, thoughts on John Hunter Nemechek or McDowell? If you're asking who I'd rather play, I would rather play McDowell. He's got more experience at Pocono. He's been running really well this season. Nemechek has had some really strong runs this season, so it would not surprise me if he does have a good showing. But I would prefer McDowell. He's starting 6 spots further back. He's got more experience at Pocono, so I'll side with McDowell if that's what you were asking. Dominique says, very good advice about going over / being bold. Yeah, look, sometimes it burns you. If you, say I love Eric Jones today, I want to go 80% Eric Jones. Not saying that's what I am doing, but if you and if he's projected to be 45% owned today, I don't want to just go 45% Jones because I get no edge there. If I really like Jones, I should probably try to double the field or something because, look, if you want to crush a slate, you got to go overweight on the guys you like. You can't just try to match the field every time. Some weeks you get burned, some weeks you crush, so it's a trade-off. Jay Smokes says, yo, what's good, bro? What's up, Jay Smokes? Garrett says, why would we trust Kyle Busch today? I get his track history, but he's been butt this year. I mean, he hasn't really been butt. I mean, he has the most top 5s, tied with the most top 5s so far this season. He's just not been racking up the dominator points. But at Bristol, which is another unique track that Kyle Busch absolutely crushes, he did pretty well there. In a Pocono, he's very good at Pocono. I could see a similar situation today, but he's also 9,300. It's not like he's 11,000. So we get a little bit of leeway here with Kyle Busch, and he's going to be very popular. Plus, I'd rather be ahead of the curve on Kyle Busch dominating a race than chasing it after it happens. So I'm willing to take a shot on Kyle Busch today. Jake says, I'm full JGR with Custer and Byron. Is that a good single into tournament play? Custer? Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Yeah, it's really good. I think I've actually probably played around with that exact lineup, so I got no problem with that. Cameron says, best pairing to play with Blaney. I don't know if there's really like a exact pairing I'd use with Blaney. I mean, you could use Keselowski as a Penske car if you think they come out really strong, but there's not really someone I'm looking to pair with Blaney exactly. King says, thoughts on Jimmy Johnson? Thanks for the answers, by the way. Yeah, no problem. Jimmy Johnson, not really on my radar. I know he's had a pretty strong season so far. Chevys have been pretty fast, but Pocono has not been too kind for him. Past 6 races, no wins, no top 5s, only 1 top 15. Starting 12th, he's 9,100. I mean, just give me Blaney for 100 less, and I think he's much more likely to dominate than Jimmy Johnson. So not really on JJ today. see, Landon says, I hope he gets a win today or tomorrow. If not, just get some good finishes. I think you're talking about Chase Elliott. He'll probably get a good finish for you. Jason says fantasy draft. Just kidding. Yeah, definitely no fantasy draft. I've never even looked at fantasy draft before. Bell contrarian due to the low price and a GPP. He should be contrarian because I haven't really seen anyone say they like Christopher Bell despite him starting 36. So he should be contrarian, but he's got to do a lot to pay off his salary, like 11,100. He's not going to dominate this race. He's going to have to pick up fast laps, which I'm not really confident in him doing unless he goes down a tire and has to pit, and then he's going to get the fast laps. But outside of that, it's going to be really tough for him to hit value today. I mean, I think he's probably going to score anywhere from like 45 to 50 some points, but 11,100, it's a little bit too much. You're welcome, John. Hope you have a good day as well. White says Cole Custer was pretty nasty here in Xfinity. You think it carries over? Yeah, this is one of the reasons I said he's actually pretty solid. I mean, it's all play today. He was pretty good here in the Xfinity Series, the Winter Race Series, and good equipment. I think Custer's just fine. I really like him and Busher right there in that 65, 64 range. Tamar says Harvick could do it today. Would not surprise me. He's looking for his first win at Pocono, and it can certainly come today. He's been strong at Pocono his whole career, but just hasn't been able to get the win. Cody says the Cup race is canceled today. It is moved to Monday. That'd still be interesting to what they would do with the Sunday slate, because then what would they do to the starting spots? I don't know. Dion says Blaney and Hamlin in the same lineup is fine. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, there's really not any PD upside, but it would not surprise me if those were the two dominators today, and they're both pretty cheap, so yeah, it's fine. Nick says, how low owned do you think Clint Boyer will be? Top 10 could put him in the optimal lineup. I think Clint Boyer is going to be, I think he's going to be around 20% today. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not the best at projecting ownership, nor do I project ownership, but I think people are going to rather play Busch, Truex, Blaney, Hamlin, so I think he's going to be anywhere from 15 to 20-ish, right around there. I don't think he's going to be 10%, though. Daniel says Reddick or MDB for a GPP. I think MDB's got the best chance of scoring more points, but Reddick will be lower owned. So if you're looking for low ownership, I would say Reddick, but just overall who I think scores more points is going to be MDB. Kenneth says Elliott, Blaney, Kess, McDowell, Busher, Byron for a takedown. Hey, I like all those guys, so I could see it happening, and that should be pretty low owned because Elliott's should be pretty low owned, and Keselowski should be pretty low owned, and Blaney should be somewhere in the middle. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Garrett says, thank you, you're welcome. Mike says, I think my gamble today is Jimmy Johnson. I'm overweight on him. Well, we don't agree there, but hey, he's going to be low owned, and if he has a top 5 kind of race, yeah, it can work out for you. I'm just not a big fan. Sarah says McDowell. Yeah, McDowell's one of my favorite cheap options today, so definitely have interest in McDowell. Robert says Blaney, Busher, or MDB Bowman for GPPs. I will go Blaney and Busher there because I'm not really that high on Bowman. Bourne says thoughts on Logano. Haven't heard his name at all. Yeah, Logano should be pretty much an afterthought today. Personally, I just don't like Joey Logano too much this week. He's just not been that good at Pocono. Average finish of 17.5. No top 5s, 2 top 10s. Yes, he's had a strong car this year, but he just does not typically dominate at Pocono. He's averaging 0 laps led per race the past 6 races. Just not a big fan of Joey this week. J Smoke says, what's good, bro? Another day. What's up? I'm rolling with Elliott, Truex, Boyer, Reddick, and A. Dillon. Hoping for a win. Probably going to change it a million times. All right, well, good luck to you two as well. I think that's a pretty solid lineup. Definitely more tournament-y, which that's what you're shooting for. I like it. Russell says, Kurt Busch in tournaments. You can play him in tournaments. I like the price tag. It's just, I think he's probably going to finish right around where he starts. I mean, not that excited about Kurt Busch today, but I do like the price tag. Let's see. Andrew says, do you think Busher finishes ahead of Bell? I could see that. It's hard to pass at Pocono. And so, I mean, Christopher Bell might have a hard time cracking the top 20 today. I mean, I think he's probably going to get there. But Chris Busher, I mean, he's got more experience here in the Cup Series. I don't mind Busher over Bell. I think that's actually a decent bet if you're betting it. Greg says, BJ McLeod is the same odds as Chris Busher to win the race on FanDuel. Is that true? That's awful. I think Chris Busher is way more likely to win than BJ McLeod today. Matthew says, thoughts on Harvick, Kyle Busch, Hamlin, Blaney, Jones, McDowell. I think that's a great lineup. I mean, you're stacking the front, but it's kind of what you want to do at Pocono, so I actually think that's pretty good. Josh says, thoughts on Elliott and Keselowski for cash games. Would not play those two in cash games. Those are the tournament options. Would not get there in cash. Tony says, information overload. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but It's fun. Garrett says, who wins the race? It would not surprise me if Kevin Harvick gets that today. To me, though, and for this one, my projected finishes, it's between Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. I think one of those two gets the win today. Would not surprise me if Harvick picks up his first win at Pocono. Mike says overweight as in like 15% though. So no, okay. I was thinking maybe you went like 30 or 40%, but yeah, that's fine. That's fine. This might be the first time I've ever caught up to the chat, so I realize it's Saturday morning, so I know a lot of people probably aren't in here. But if that's about it for the questions, I can probably hop off just so we don't go about an hour. But we still have 225 people in here, so if anyone else has more questions, get them in now. But if not, we can probably cut this short. Greg says, oh yeah, I have zero interest in BJ McLeod, just wondering why he has such great odds. McDowell wasn't on there. That makes no sense to me. Maybe FanDuel messed that up because there's no reason Buescher should have the same odds to win as BJ McLeod. I mean, come on now. That's really weird. Guevas says, still in bed. Yeah, a lot of people on the West Coast, 8:45. Even people on Saturdays, some people don't even get up to 1 in the afternoon, so I get it. Tony says, Hamlin for the win. Would not surprise me. Hamlin is great at flat tracks. This is, for the most part, a pretty flat track. Yeah, a little bit of banking, but everyone's saying thanks. You're welcome. It's fun doing this. No need to thank me. Mike says, I didn't see the race on Saturday till last night's video. Oh, yeah. I wonder if a lot of people don't even know if there's a Saturday race. They might tune in on Sunday morning watching the Saturday video, and they'd be all kind of confused. All right, getting some last-minute questions. Okay, Wyatt says Bowman or Kurt Busch? Ooh, that's a good question. I'll go with Bowman there just because he's starting 10th, and I don't know, he's really fast at Fontana, which is a high-horsepower track. It doesn't have the best track history at Pocono, but I'll go with Bowman there. I don't mind that. Let's see. Monica says, why stack the front again? It's pretty hard to pass at Pocono. And for the most part, all the guys up front are way too cheap. So it actually makes them pretty easy to stack the front. And if you're actually looking at past optimal lineups at Pocono, you're averaging about 2.5 drivers in the top 12. And now with qualifying being from a random draw based on the owner's points, I just think there's a good chance a lot of the guys in the front make the optimal lineup today. To answer your question. Let's see. And I think I just answered Dace Vamon's question, so hopefully that answered you. Greg says, is Ty Dillon a crazy pivot off of Eric Jones and GPP or go elsewhere? I just don't really like the price on Ty Dillon at all. I mean, I'd rather get down to a guy like Buescher or Custer for cheaper. I mean, Ty Dillon's fine. He should be able to gain about 10 spots, but man, I really like Eric Jones today, so I don't feel that great pivoting off of Jones for Ty Dillon, but I get it. He's pretty safe starting 34th, though. King says, should we give up on Matt Kenseth? Yes, yes, you should. Especially at 8,600. Why is he 8,600? I don't get that. Let's see. Jason says McLeod shape. You love BJ McLeod. Every week on Twitter, you always ask me something about BJ McLeod. It's not annoying or anything. It's just funny. One of these days, BJ McLeod might win you a tournament, but I don't think it's going to be today. You're welcome, dude. Thanks for tuning in. Greg says, do I like LaJoy at all? Not really. He's sandwiched right in between McDowell and Priest, right? Yeah, right in between McDowell and Priest, and I'd much rather play those guys. So, Dustin says Buescher or Custer. I'm leaning Buescher, but they're like very, very close for me today. Like very, very close. Let's see, trucks got postponed until 9:30 tomorrow. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Alan says Priest or McDowell. It's really close for me. I think Priest is a bit safer starting 30th, so I guess Priest, but it's very, very close. He's just one of those guys, you pick your poison. Ignacio says, am I playing Bell starting so far back? I am not. He is just way too expensive. If it was like Kevin Harvick starting 36, I'd be all about it, but Christopher Bell, ugh. Tony says, good luck with your picks, everyone. See you tomorrow. What time, Chris? So I'm going to try to, as long as we get a race today, I should be able to do the breakdown video tonight. Then we'll do the live stream again tomorrow at 11 or 12. We'll just figure it out whenever. I'll go tweet it out. Frank says Truex and Blaney and Kyle Busch or Hamlin, Harvick, Elliott. Oh, that's a really good question. I'll go with the first one just because I think Elliott's a bit overpriced and you're probably going to be able to get some better PD options if you go with the first one. Mike says, and it wasn't last week today. BJ could start at 50 and not play. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Tony says Lawnmower Man was surprised today, and Bell, I hope not. Let's hope that does not happen. Dustin says MDB or Byron. Byron, I'll go Byron. Greg says the Cup race canceled today. It's running Monday per Bob. Oh, thank you. Did not know that. Jason says today rain go. Assume you mean go away. Yeah, hopefully the rain does not ruin the race today, because let's just get a doubleheader. It'd be really fun to have 2 Cup races this weekend. Anthony, I was going to leave about 10 minutes ago, but a lot of people are asking questions now, so I don't mind staying. Anthony says Truex and Byron or Elliott and MDB. I will go with the first option. King says thoughts on Eric Almirola and GPPs on the pole with the clean air advantage. He could lead the first 12 laps. It would not surprise me. I do think Blaney's going to beat him out, but we also saw at Martinsville that Blaney could not beat out Eric Almirola in that one race. But if I had to guess who's going to win the restart there, I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. But I think if Almirola leads the first 12 laps, I still think he's going to get shuffled back as long as they come in for tires. Stu Putty says, I wish they would run rain tires. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? That would be interesting. Couldn't do it on ovals, but let's see. Did I miss anything? All right, I think that's about it for the questions, so I'll probably get out of here. But I do appreciate everyone for stopping by. If you asked a question I did not answer, it's nothing personal. I just can't sometimes see all the questions. But I do appreciate everyone stopping by. If you haven't watched the breakdown video yet, feel free to do so. But without that, I'm going to head out. Wish you guys the best of luck. And I'll see you guys tonight in my breakdown video, then tomorrow in the live stream. Oh, forgot how to cancel this. All right, see you guys. Thanks for stopping by.